All right. Hello. Welcome. Today, for our Thrive Thursday, we have the privilege of hearing from Sherry Wirtz, who is a dental hygienist and oral facial myofunctional therapist. She lives in Bourbonnais, Illinois, and she'll be talking today about being the owner of your health and the owner of your body.
Thank you so much, Whitney, for introducing me. I am happy to be here and presenting. And yes, we're going to talk about being the owner of your health. You only get one body, and we will have more than one car in a lifetime, more than one house in a lifetime. Yet we maintain our heart and our home much more than a lot of us will maintain our health. And we put wealth in front of our health. But if we don't start meeting our basics, we're going to actually spend the wealth that we spend our life creating getting our health back. So I talk about being the owner of your health and the basics. Maslow's theory of hierarchy is if we don't meet our basic needs, most individuals don't have the drive, focus, or motivation to move up the levels. And our basic needs are where I came up with owner. And it's oxygen, water, nutrition, enough sleep, and respecting yourself and the one body that you get. And so that's what I'm going to talk about today. And we're just going to kind of dip our toe in this information a little bit today and go over some of it. So it definitely can be a lot more information, and there are people that talk about all of these things. So I'm going to bring it all together because what I learned with being a dental hygienist and having had breast cancer a few years ago is that our healthcare system is a sick care system and it treats symptoms. It doesn't really teach us prevention. And just because we know what prevention is and we have knowledge doesn't mean that we practice it. So that's what I want to talk about today is bringing it all together and seeing how our mouth is connected to the rest of our body because we treat our mouth separate. It even has its own insurance, which I think is crazy. And so we don't really tie everything together with how important our mouth is to the rest of our body. And what happens when we don't take care of our mouth to all of these basic needs that aren't being met. So hopefully what we do here today is transformational and you learn something from this journey. And I, as Whitney said, am a dental hygienist and a myofunctional therapist, and I've been doing this since I was 16. It's the only job that I have ever had. So I created this mind, mouth, body shift program in order to connect everything that starts from the top down. Because when we move in life, we either make choices that lead to our illness or choices that lead to health. And who doesn't want to be healthy, right? Nobody dies healthy, and we're all going to die at some point. But the choices that you make are going to determine what type of life you have and how healthy your life is. And it can start from the beginning. So I started as a dental hygienist. I am also a Burst ambassador, and there are a lot of oral care products. And as I went through this cancer treatment, I realized how important your mouth is to the rest of your body because I went to the doctor and I was having, my hair was falling out. I was tired. And they were like, no, you're just stressed. You're fine. This is what happens when you get older and you're doing too many things and you don't put yourself first as a mom. And I'm like, I don't think so. And as a Burst ambassador, they sent us this water flosser to try out before they launched it. And my gums started bleeding. And I'm thinking, I know my gums are healthy. Why are my gums bleeding? So I went back to a different doctor and he said, I think maybe we should run some different tests that Western medicine does. So more of an Eastern medicine approach. And that's when I found out I had breast cancer. Luckily, I found it in stage 1 because I listened to my body and I followed my instincts. Even though I was told nothing was wrong with me, I just needed to relax, get rid of some stress. There was something wrong. And so that's why I talk a lot about the disease model versus the health model. So we really need to gear ourselves towards health and prevention. And again, we don't usually go to the doctor unless there's a problem. And in our mouth, we feel no pain, no problem. And that could be further from the truth when it comes to our mouth. When you have cavities, you don't feel that you have a cavity. By the time you have pain in your mouth, it is a problem. And you probably are needing to make a choice of whether or not you're going to pull the tooth, keep the tooth, get a root canal, or anything like that. And a lot of people will say just pull it because it's less expensive. But then you have teeth shifting and it affects your chewing and your digestion and how all of this stuff is mixed together. So I'm going to talk more about that as we go through. But a lot of people too are like, can't you just give me a pill? So a pill for every ill is what is coming in. And I don't think that it's just a screen there. Okay. So I'm going to skip that slide. So we have our subconscious and it wants us to give it a quick fix. But what happens is a lot of times our subconscious takes over. So when we're sleeping, and that's a good portion of our life, we work out problems in our sleep, but we're not sleeping as much as we used to. And a lot of that has to do with what's going on in our bodies. So when we talk about your mouth and your health, everything is a puzzle that fits together, and it's a balance from family, from health, from wealth, and the things that you need to do to be healthy. So we're going to get back to talking about owner again, and we're going to start with oxygen. The first thing we do when we're born is breathe through our nose. We can't breathe through our mouth until we're 3 months old. So we were meant to be nose breathers. The last thing we do when we die is take a breath, and it's usually a gasp through our mouth. And we begin and end our life with a breath. But when we talk about health, we don't look at how you breathe. Can you breathe through your nose? And a lot of people are like, well, I can't breathe through my nose. I've never been able to breathe through my nose. We're lucky that we can breathe through our mouth, but when you breathe through your mouth, you're not healthy because your nose warms, filters, humidifies the air that you breathe, and you get nitric oxide CO2 exchange. And when you're not breathing through your nose, what happens is you breathe through your mouth. And mouth breathing is not a good thing because when you breathe through your mouth, you get a compromised airway. So the roof of your mouth is the floor of your nasal sinus. So when you're younger and you breathe through your mouth, your tongue is down. And when your tongue is down, you grow a more vaulted palate, which then makes it more difficult for you to breathe. So we can actually start looking at these things when you're 2 or 3 years old. And before the agricultural revolution, we used to chew our food a lot more. Once we started bottle feeding, you use different muscles when you bottle feed and your tongue is down. If you suck your thumb, if you suck your fingers, that's all going to change growth and development in our kids, which is now going to compromise their airway. Excuse me. And my daughter was wetting the bed, and I was told that she would outgrow this. What I learned is you don't outgrow these symptoms as a child, you grow into other issues. Your growth and development is 80% complete by the time you're 8 years old. And most orthodontists will tell you to wait until your child is 7 or 8 years old to see an orthodontist. But if you get your kids between the ages of 2 and 7 and you expand their palate or keep their tongue on the roof of their mouth, they actually can grow a better airway. When they grow more vaulted, they have forward head posture. They sit with their mouth open. They get dark circles under their eyes. They might wet the bed. They might have night terrors. They might be diagnosed with ADHD, which is what my daughter was diagnosed with. And she was actually misdiagnosed because it was a sleep disordered breathing problem because of how her tongue was functioning. And so this is why I started talking about being the owner of your health and looking at things sooner. Because if we don't treat our kids younger, they're going to grow up to be adults that now have a compromised airway and probably will need a CPAP machine or have chronic health issues. Because when you can't breathe through your nose and you start breathing through your mouth, it affects everything. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. It also affects your pH because it dries out your mouth when you're breathing through your mouth. So when you breathe through your mouth, what happens, especially at night when you sleep, is you lose 40% of your water. So not only are you getting 18% less oxygen because now your nose is not giving you that CO2 exchange, you're losing water. And 75% of Americans are dehydrated. When you're dehydrated and your mouth is dry, it leads to cavities and a more acidic environment. So we talk a lot about cavities and brushing in your oral hygiene, but those cavities happen because of an acidic environment, and no disease, almost none, happens if your pH is balanced. So if you have a balanced pH, you're going to live a healthier life without disease. But when that pH is imbalanced, then you start to worry about that. So cavities, cancer, all of these things are really caused by an imbalance in your body. So that's where the difference between your nose and your mouth are really important. Your nose is for breathing, your mouth is for eating, and not vice versa. So we wouldn't eat through our nose. We're lucky we can breathe through our mouth, like I said earlier, but we really should be breathing through our nose. So if you can't breathe through your nose, you want to find out why. Why can't you breathe through your nose? So we can breathe better by doing one thing. If your nose is blocked, what you can do to see if it's a problem with breathing is pinch your nose, take a deep breath in, shake your head to the left and the right, holding your nose and blocking your airway, shake your head up and down. And when you feel that hunger for air, you let go of your nose, blow out if you need to, and then take a breath in through your nose, not your mouth. And it will unblock your nose at any time, unless you're having a problem where you need to see an ENT. So if you can't breathe through your nose, you really should find out why. Do you have a deviated septum? Do you have polyps? What is going on in there? A lot of people, especially since COVID, developed a mouth breathing habit. So they can breathe through their nose, but their body compensates. And it's made a difference because we were wearing a mask and we were pinching our nose tight and we became mouth breathers, a lot of people. So after COVID, as a dental hygienist, we were seeing a lot more cavities. And so the nose is really important. Breathing is life. And so I talk a lot about that. And once you can breathe through your nose, you can take a deep breath in through your nose. So box breathing is something that I recommend. The vagus nerve is the 10th cranial nerve, and it is responsible for your parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. When we breathe through our mouth, we're in fight or flight a lot, and it disrupts our circadian rhythm. So we're not getting enough oxygen, we're losing our water, we're not getting enough sleep, and that is affecting our health. So you can try to take a deep breath in for a count of 4, hold it for 4, then breathe out for 4. Hold it for 4. When you're getting, if you yawn, that's a sign that you're getting more oxygen. You're getting that nitric oxide CO2 exchange. So yawning lets you know that you're needing a little bit more oxygen. So if you're have anxiety and you're getting through the day and something is really bothering you, sometimes just taking that deep breath in and breathing out can calm that central nervous system and change what is happening in your body. So that's a simple thing. There's a lot more to it. I don't have time to really go into it, but I just wanted to give you some simple action steps that you can do with unblocking your nose and breathing to help you feel better and see, can you even breathe through your nose? And that's where I start when I evaluate people is how do you breathe? How are you breathing? Because if you can't breathe through your nose, that's where we need to start. Everything else doesn't matter. And I, as a myofunctional therapist, if you can't breathe through your nose, a lot of the exercises I give you are not going to help you because that's where we really need to breathe. And some people can't, and I understand that. But you can also do nasal hygiene. So when you're not breathing through your nose or you have a lot of allergies, what happens is your nose gets blocked. So before you go to bed, especially if you're having a hard time sleeping, you can put a warm wash rag on your nose, or you can use a product like this called Xlear. It's got xylitol in it. So if your adenoids are inflamed, this will actually help reduce the inflammation in your adenoids for yourself or your child. The little elephant on the box are drops. You can just put one drop up each nostril when you change the baby's diaper. And the other one is drops for adults. And then the other one is a spray. I don't like the spray. It gives me too much and I can't control how much is going up in my nose. But some people don't mind that spray. And you can even use saline. Some people like neti pots, but nasal hygiene is going to help you breathe better, especially if you can't breathe. And another thing that could be blocking your nose could be the 3Ds, dairy, dander, and dust. So if you have animals, you want them to not be sleeping in your bed if you're having a hard time. If you have dust, you can, wash your sheets, wash your pillows. If you're allergic to things, cleaning out that nose and making sure that you stop eating dairy, because a lot of times dairy is the problem. Or people have mold in their house and they don't know. So you can have your house tested if a lot of people in your family are having a hard time breathing, or you seem like you're getting sick a lot. Have your house tested for mold. I have found that with working with people, there have been a lot of people that had mold in their house. So when you can't breathe, we talked about losing your water. And why is this important? Because our body is made of 50 to 70% water. And in order to deliver the oxygen and nutrients to our cells, we need that water. And our body is totally functioning on how much water we have, and it affects every organ and system in our body. We have 11 systems happening that all work together. So that's why we kind of want to see, how are we meeting these basic needs? Are we getting enough oxygen? Are we getting enough water? Are we getting enough sleep? And what type of nutrition are we getting? So I'm going through this pretty quickly, but nutrition, food can be medicine. And food used to be medicine a long time ago, and now we have so many pills. So if we eat foods that our planet provides for us, we're going to be much healthier. We were not meant to eat processed GMO foods, and our body keeps score. So the more we put this food into our body, the more our bodies are resisting it. So allergies, sensitivities, food sensitivities, the older we get, the more sensitive we get to things, and we start to get achy joints. A lot of it has to do with what we're putting in our body. So a good call to action on that is to keep a journal of what foods you're eating and how you feel the next day and what happens, because you'll know if you'll have a sensitivity. So a lot of people don't necessarily have allergies. Their body just can't tolerate it. And I know for me, when I went through the cancer, what I realized is some days I could eat foods, but if I combined them with certain foods, then I had a problem the next day. So if I drink pop, the next day, even if I drink a little can, one of those little mini cans, like half a can, the next morning I will wake up with stiff joints, feeling like I have arthritis. It's crazy that certain foods that I eat affect me in different ways. And I think a lot of people have that and they're just unaware of what is happening there. So a good thought is, farmers give us the foods that we need. So the more foods that we can get from our farmers, or even grow ourselves, because then they won't have pesticides. We can put the nutrients back in the soil. They have these towers that you can grow your own food now. So the more natural and organic our food is, the better that we're probably going to feel. And so the important thing to know is garbage in, garbage out. So what we're putting in is going to affect how we're feeling and what's coming out the next day. So you have a choice. You get to choose A or B. What are you going to do? Are you going to put foods in your body that create inflammation? Or are you going to put foods in your body that heal? Sugar has like 90 different names, I think, right now. And it's in almost everything. And by design, because the more you crave sugar, the more you want it then. So then we're going to eat those foods that aren't healthy. And one of the things that I found when I was doing these research, let's say carrots, they have lost the nutrients that they used to have when I was little. 99% of their vitamin A is gone. And in 1948, you could eat one carrot, equal to needing to eat all of these carrots to get the same nutrients that you get these days because of what's happening with our food. So when I found that out, I was like, oh my gosh, I had no idea that food wasn't as healthy as it used to be for us. And so that's why a lot of people need supplements. But also we have a lot of heavy metals, so we're not absorbing the nutrients that we are eating, some of us. So that's why it's good to test. I work with Dr. Kelly Shockley. She says, if you're not testing, you're guessing. So we have all of these things coming at us and all these people saying, I have these supplements. These supplements will do this for you. But what does your body need? Making sure you find something that can test your body so you know what nutrients your particular body needs, because everybody is different. And our skin absorbs things as well. So the water that we drink, the water that we bathe in, what we get, that is all absorbing into our skin as well. So knowing what your body is absorbing is going to be really important for you. And this can be really overwhelming when you put it all together like that. So finding someone that tests, that can help you sort through what's going on with you, is a good way to not feel like you're being hit with a fire hose. We can squirt and put things out with a little squirt gun, because this is a lot of information. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about your teeth and how your teeth are connected to your health. Your mouth gives you warning symptoms. So warning signs are going to be cavities, are going to be gum disease. And we don't want to roll the dice on our health. So we should know the health of our mouth. If you're having bleeding gums, that's a sign something is wrong. 48% of Americans have some form of gum disease, whether it's gingivitis or full-blown gum disease. And a lot of times it's because of an imbalance in your body. When you have diabetes, you have gum disease. So when you have gum disease, you have diabetes. It's kind of like this whole link that goes on. A lot of people that are diabetic are undiagnosed. A lot of people that have gum disease are undiagnosed. So if you're having some of these symptoms, you really it would be advisable to know what is going on in your mouth. Have a dentist tell you. And these days it's hard to trust a lot of people, and then they give you this huge big treatment plan. But I always say, listen to yourself. Your gut instincts will tell you what is right for you. And I think a lot of times we look outside of people to get for information. And we think, okay, well, I was told this. I don't know if this is right. I better look more. But we don't want to roll the dice on our health, and we really want to just sit and think of what feels right for us and our body. Because when I had the cancer, I ended up having a double mastectomy. I asked 25 women why they made the choice that they made. And if they had to do it again, what choice would they make differently? And ultimately, I had so many friends and family and so many people to help, but it was really a lonely process because nobody can tell you what's right for you and your body. You really have to sit and figure that out yourself. And that goes for anything, for your health, for your child's health. Listen to your gut instinct. When they told me that my daughter had ADHD, I did not believe that. I was like, no, something in me said that was not right. And it was right. Same thing with the cancer. When they told me you were fine, if I had done nothing and waited for symptoms, I would have been in a stage 4 instead of a stage 1. So if you get anything out of this presentation today, I'm going to say, listen to yourself, your body, your intuition. You have it for a reason. And we don't want to throw good money from bad by taking a lot of these supplements that your body might not need and you're just peeing out anyway. So make sure that you find someone that you trust, that can test, that can tell you what your body needs. And then let's go back to mouth breathing versus nose breathing. So these are some facial characteristics of what happens. You can see the nose breather has a more well-defined jawline, more wide eyes, a straighter head posture. When you breathe through your mouth, you tend to have a more forward head posture. Your jaw is tucked in and you're breathing through your mouth, which then gives you this venous pooling under your eyes. So if you see someone that has dark circles under your eyes, they're probably mouth breathing and not breathing very well. And then it can create habits like your tongue pushing forward that then makes your teeth come more out. So this little girl, this was the difference between nose breathing and mouth breathing. So you can see on the side where her teeth are a little more bucked out, that was from keeping her tongue down and breathing through her mouth. And then when she started breathing through her nose and keeping her tongue in the roof of your mouth, look how it changed her facial structure. So much easier to do when you're a child versus when you're an adult. But it's something that I think is really important because when you breathe through your mouth, again, it affects your sleep and your circadian rhythm. When your circadian rhythm is knocked out, you're not going to be healthy because what happens is we store our memories during REM sleep. So if you're not focusing, you're not remembering things, look at how you're sleeping. When you're sleeping with your mouth open, what can happen is you wake up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom. You wake up in the middle of the night because you have a dry mouth and you want to get a drink. You could have night sweats. For kids, you could wet the bed. You could snore, clench, or grind because your body compensates and it moves the jaw forward. Well, what happens when that interrupts your circadian rhythm is now you're in fight or flight. You've stimulated that vagus nerve and you're not sleeping. And we rest and repair when we sleep. So if you're not getting enough sleep, that is throwing everything in your whole body off, which affects your mood, your focus, it affects your blood pressure, it affects your cortisol. When your cortisol is up, then you crave sugar and dopamine, which is now going to create more inflammation in your body. So it's like this huge cycle of what's going on. So how you breathe, how you sleep, how much water you're getting, and the nutrition you put in is all really important. And that's where we go with the owner. So this is kind of like the slide of an iceberg. What is up above on the tree versus what's happening in the roots. We really need to see what is the root cause of going on. How is your tongue? Where is it resting in your mouth? When your tongue is up on the roof of your mouth, like this, and your lips are closed, you can't breathe through your mouth. So if you're just sitting during the day with your tongue up, it will force you to breathe through your nose. That's if you can't breathe through your nose, but it's a habit that you can you can change as long as you can breathe through your nose. And something simple as just keeping your tongue resting up on the roof of your mouth is going to make a huge difference. When the tongue is not functioning, form follows function. So I'm a myofunctional therapist. And when the tongue is not functioning correctly, it can affect all of these things. It can affect diet and sleeping and irritable bowel. When you're breathing in air at night when you sleep, that air gets into your stomach and not your lungs, and it can create more irritable bowel syndrome, more gas, more reflux, which is then going to create more cavities. So you can see the cycle of what is happening in here. And our tongue is a strong muscle. We swallow 800 to 2,000 times a day. If we're pushing with our tongue, it's going to push our teeth out, and it can actually shift our teeth. So our tongue should be resting on the roof of our mouth when we swallow. So a simple test you can do is take a glass of water, smile, and swallow. If you have to close your lips to swallow, that might be a sign that you're pushing your tongue forward and your lips are compensating. So it's a simple thing of, can you swallow and still keep that in? So it's a fun little test. Make sure that you're not sitting where your water is going to come out your mouth. But that's a thing to see. How is your tongue functioning? What is happening in there? Because when your tongue is pressing forward, it can create this open bite, or it could be tied and tethered. And when it's tethered, it's going to be hard for you to have the correct function. So I'm not going to go too much into that. If you notice some of this stuff happening, you can get a hold of me and we can talk more about what's happening in your mouth and dive more into this. But being the owner of your health is really important. And going back to the basics, starting with oxygen, water, nutrition, enough sleep, and respecting the one body that you get, because it's going to make a difference of health versus illness. And if I want to thank you, I'm going to kind of cut this off here. Respecting our body is really important. Thank you for your time. I do have a Healthy Mouth Mom Facebook group. I also have one-on-one with myofunctional therapy. I can do an evaluation to see how you're functioning. And I have a Healthy Mouth experience that goes much deeper into what I just talked today. Breaking down oxygen, water, nutrition, enough sleep, and respecting your body, and then different things, tools that you can do to keep your mouth healthy with toothbrushes and things like that. Toothbrush, floss, water flosser. I touched on that a little bit with Burst. I'm a Burst ambassador. You can go to their website, www.burstoralcare.com. If you use the code HealthyMouth right now, they have 25% off on all of their products, which is a really great deal. But you get to choose. You get to choose to be happy. You get to choose to be healthy. But first, you have to choose you and put yourself first, because your most valuable asset and investment is you. All righty. I'm trying to stop the share. There we go.
Wow.
Right.
Wow. That was really informative.
Yeah, it was
so
nice.
It was like a fire hose of information. That's why I put that slide in there, because it's just like, just coming at ya.
Yeah. All right. I'm going to stop the recording.